Hello and welcome to Inside Politics. I'm Anastasiya Lavrina. Just days after hosting the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan traveled to Russia for his first foreign visit since winning the parliamentary elections. During talks with Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin, Pashinyan reaffirmed Armenia's commitment to developing relations with Russia and remaining an active member of the Eurasian Economic Union. At the same time, he acknowledged that problematic issues remain between the two countries and expressed hope they can be resolved through dialogue. Does this visit signal a reset in Russia-Armenia relations? Can Yerevan continue balancing between Moscow and Brussels? And what do these developments mean for the regional stability, connectivity, and the South Caucasus as a whole? To discuss this, I'm joined by Mehmet Ogutçu, chairman of the London Energy Club and former Turkish diplomat from London, and Dmitry Brich, political analyst and expert from Russia. Gentlemen, welcome to Inside Politics.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Hello.
So, Mr. Brich, let's start with a question to you. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's first foreign visit after the parliamentary elections is to Russia, just days after welcoming European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to Yerevan. How significant is this sequence of events, and what does it tell us about Armenia's current foreign policy?
Of course, the visit of Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan to Russia is an important movement that is happening this last weeks after the elections, and should not be interpreted as a simple protocol trip. It should be it is a political signal, and perhaps more importantly, a stress test for Armenians' new foreign policy formula. Pashinyan arrives in Russia after winning the parliamentary election in June, where his civil contract party received almost 50% of the vote. And the Armenian Constitution Court has also rejects the pro-Russian opposition's appeal against the election results, which means that Pashinyan enters this diplomatic phase with a renewed domestic legitimacy. But this legitimacy doesn't mean freedom of movement without Armenia is trying to diversify its foreign policy, depends deepen relationship with the European Union and the United States of America, and reduce over dependence on Moscow. At the same time, Armenia cannot simply leave the Russian orbit overnight. Russia remains a major economic partner and important destination for Armenian labor migration, and a key actor in the South Caucasus security architecture. This is why the visit is important for both sides, for Russian side and for Armenian side. Pashinyan is not going to Moscow from a position of full alignment, but he's also not going from a position of rupture. He's going to manage a complicated relationship between Russia and Armenia, because we saw the sign from the Russian President Vladimir Putin that Putin is unhappy with the last foreign policies of Armenia and what happened regarding the cooperation between Armenia and the European Union, because it's also harming the relationship between Russia and Armenia, and also making a kind of dangerous movement South Caucasus region. So, of course, in these meetings, I think that both leaders, Nikol Pashinyan and Vladimir Putin, will discuss the issues of cooperation and, of course, these policies of integration of Armenia in the European Union, because nowadays we see how fastly Armenia is trying to integrate on diplomatic level and even on economic level into different initiatives of the European Union, because this movement also from the Russian side and even several Russian parliamentarians saw that as a dangerous movement, South Caucasus, that could also harm the North Caucasus region and, of course, harm the Russian interest in this region.
Well, Mr. Ogutchu, Prime Minister Pashinyan has reaffirmed Armenia's commitment to remaining in the Eurasian Economic Union despite actively expanding ties with the European Union and willingness to have its more close integration with the Union itself. So, from a broader geopolitical perspective, is Armenia trying to build a genuinely balanced foreign policy, or will it eventually have to make a strategic choice between these two directions?
I don't think Armenia has any choice to make except protecting its sovereignty, its balanced relationship with all the parties involved. And one also has to admit that Pashinyan is really a smart leader. He's making his first official visit to Moscow. In diplomacy, in our jargon, that's a significant signal. Because as you know, between Azerbaijan and Turkey as well, and first, after the elections, the first official visit Turkish president makes is to Azerbaijan and vice versa. Therefore, it shows the respect and importance that Pashinyan attached to relations with Russia. He is realistic. In this region, having only strong relations with the European Union and the United States allow Armenia to achieve its goal. It has to have good relations also with Russia, which used to be dominating the region of Caucasus, and especially Armenia in military, security, trade, and migration needs. Therefore, I think Pashinyan is doing a smart thing to give assurance to Russia that after the election, he will work closely with Russia, not as before, this time quite balanced, reducing its strategic dependency on Russia, but having Russia as a major partner in the region. This is what also Russia would like to hear, because there is a concern that Armenia is drifting away from the Russian orbit towards more European and United States. Also, Armenia is developing independently relations with Azerbaijan and Turkey, because before this was always under the shadow of Moscow, and they were brokering whatever needs to be brokered. So therefore, I think what we see is a healthy situation, and if he gives the assurance, the right assurance to Putin that Armenia will continue to maintain its strategy while keeping security, trade, and also economic energy relations with Russia at the same time. That's what's needed. If he pushes too much a pro-attitude, I think it will backfire. So just like actually Baku is trying to do, having quite balanced relationship with the West, with Russia, Iran, and Turkey, I think Pashinyan is trying to replicate what has worked in Azerbaijan.
Mr. Bridge, Prime Minister Pashinyan said Armenia remains committed to developing relations with Russia and staying in the Eurasian Economic Union. He even stated that the membership of Armenia within this unit will benefit not only Armenia but all other members of this union. How important was this message for Moscow, and your personal opinion on this? Who is the most important player here? Is Armenia more important for the Union, or the Union itself is more important for Yerevan?
I think the Union is more important for Yerevan, not Armenia for the Union, because nowadays, if Armenia want to export its products, they need this union. They need to cooperate with this union. They need to cooperate with Russian side. They need to cooperate with Central Asian countries. And if you're talking about the visit, also the timing is especially sensitive, because in recent weeks Russia imposed restrictions on several Armenian exports, including fresh produce, flowers, fish, and different other products. And also this affecting the Armenian economy. Today, if Armenia won't find a solution for that, it could affect, because the biggest market, that is the nearest market for Armenia, is the Russian market. It's a big market, and Russia helped Armenia in the last years because Armenia buying oil, gas from the Russian side and a good price, and also benefiting from the Russian market. And we know that Armenia has also a big diaspora living in different regions of Russian Federation. So I think that Nikol Pashinyan, the Prime Minister, would try to find a solution for all the issues and all the misunderstandings between the Russian side and Armenian side. Because if Armenia want to integrate into European Union, of course, to do that, but not to damage their relationship with the Russian Federation, with the Russian side, because Russia sees this region as a very important part of its interest. And if Russia will see any dangerous movement in this region, they will to impose sanctions or some kind of restrictions. If talking about trading, if talking about buying several products from this market, as we heard about the last restrictions on several Armenian exports. So at the same time, the European Union is moving quickly to fill part of this space, because we see that Brussels has pledged additional economic support to Armenia and promised to remove tariffs from nearly 80% of the Armenian exports to the European Union. This is not only economic assistance, it is also geopolitical messaging. Because the European Union is telling Yerevan that Armenia faces pressure because of its western course, and Brussels will not leave it alone. But this won't be enough because of geography, actually. Armenia is far from European Union, is far from being part of European Union as other countries. It's it's very far away region, so it still need to cooperate with the Eurasian Union and with the Russian Federation regarding trading. And so that the real question is whether Armenia is choosing Russia or the West in a simple binary way. The real question is not whether Armenia can build a multi-vector foreign policy without provoking its strategic relationship from Moscow and without losing its room for maneuver in the region.
From what we can see now, indeed, Nikol Pashinyan is trying to balance developing its relations with the European Union, accepting the financial support, but still expressing the willingness to keep Armenia within this Eurasian Economic Union. But apart from this, Mr. Göçü, Turkey has consistently argued that lasting peace in the South Caucasus requires regional connectivity and economic integration. Just recently, Prime Minister Pashinyan also spoke about possible energy links involving Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkey. Following these statements and recent diplomatic developments, do you see a realistic opportunity for progress in Turkey-Armenia normalization?
I think it's on the right track. The normalization continues. I believe that in the not too distant future, the borders will be opened, transportation started, the air links, and therefore Turkish-Armenian relationship will advance further. And Pashinyan's election victory also is an assurance respect. But this is going in parallel with what Azerbaijan is doing with Armenia as well. It's not independent from one another. I believe that the regional integration involving Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia is the only solution, because no matter what the European Union or United States would like to do in the region, and this is a geography which dictates your foreign policy, also your economic interest. Therefore, I think both Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, and Turkey will have to work together, and there will be a healthy relationship also with Russia, as our colleague was saying, that Russia is the biggest market there, and there are also very strong connections already established between Russia and Armenia. You cannot change overnight, and you don't need to do that as well. So it's a good news that Armenia is going to stay in the Eurasian Economic Union on the basis of mutual benefit, a win-win for all the parties concerned. And if politically and security-wise as well, this is going to be engineered carefully so that Russia doesn't feel any risk or threat coming from these countries moving closer to the European and the United States, because this is the main Russian concern. As it expressed in Georgia in the past, and we saw the results with Abkhazia and South Ossetia being occupied. The same happened in Crimea, in eastern Ukraine. Therefore, it's very important that Russia should be factored in all of their foreign and security policy, economic integration efforts. And I believe that Pashinyan is smart enough to know that, and that's the reason why he's paying his first official visit to Moscow. I believe that Turkey will also play a facilitating role in this regard, giving assurance and confidence to Russia that this collaboration, be in energy, trade, security, involving all the Caucasian countries, will not be against the interests of Russia. Because all these countries, including Turkey, have a great interest in keeping mutually beneficial, win-win, trust-based relationship with Russia. This is all the more important, actually. Next week, as you know, Ankara will be hosting the NATO Leaders Summit. And that's going to be a very significant in terms of what messages will go to Russia, to also countries in the region in terms of helping them assure their security, but also preparing NATO for the 20th century new security challenges, quite different from what they used to be in the Cold War era. Therefore, I think the Russians also will be carefully watching what conclusions and actions will emerge from Ankara. I hope it's not going to cause any serious alarm in Moscow, so that it will be more sensitized in Armenia, Georgia, and Azerbaijan.
Mr. Bridge, while Russia is seeking to reinforce its influence in the South Caucasus through high-level engagement with Armenia, another development has raised concerns in the region. Azerbaijan has summoned the Russian ambassador after a Russian drone strike reportedly damaged the Sokar fuel station in Ukraine. How serious is this incident for Russia-Azerbaijan relations, and can Moscow effectively position itself as a key regional actor while such incidents continue to affect one of its most important partners in the South Caucasus?
I think in these issues could play a very important role, because Turkey is still a very important country in the region, and in many initiatives regarding the diplomatic issues that happened, not only we're talking about Russia and Azerbaijan, but between Russia and Ukraine. I think that the president of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, also will try to play an important role to find a solution for the Ukraine crisis, because what we see nowadays is a diplomatic issue, because nowadays United Nations and other organizations cannot play a role of kind of mediator between countries, and it's a very big problem nowadays, because we see kind of escalation nowadays between Russia and Ukraine, and this escalation could affect the region and could affect the economy of both of Russia, Ukraine, and the European Union. And now we see how the problem of fuel in several regions of Russian Federation, because of the Ukrainian drones that attacking the Russian oil industry in several regions in south and north of Russian Federation, even in the Moscow region. So of course, now if you're talking about Armenia, Russia and Azerbaijan, the both countries, they know very well that any solution, any issues could be solved through the diplomatic channels. And I think that even if these issues will happen, I think that on diplomatic level, both leaders, Vladimir Putin and the president of Azerbaijan, will try to find a solution for any misunderstanding on diplomatic level, all regarding the issues that happened in Ukraine.
Well, the situation is indeed what's happening today. Dmitry, one additional question to you. Russia today faces several major strategic threats simultaneously, from Ukraine to the Middle East and the South Caucasus. Does Moscow still have the political and diplomatic capacity to remain the dominant security actor across all these regions, or will it have to prioritize?
I think now the priority for Russia is Ukraine, of course. If you're talking about the Russian military as the Ministry of Defense, of course the priority now Ukraine, because what in Russia we call the special military operation, is now priority because it's affecting the Russian economy, it's affecting the regions, several regions in Russia. It's affecting Russian also with other countries, because nowadays Ukraine attacking airports, attacking industry, and factories that are related to Ministry of Defense. So of course now for Russia the priority is to find a solution for the Ukrainian crisis, and I think that Gulf countries and the Turkish side will have a very important role to find a solution. Not only the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump, because I think that Donald Trump cannot find a solution for the Ukrainian crisis. It could be that after the stopping the war and finding solutions of the Iranian issue, the conflict between the war between Iran and the United States of America, it could be that the administration of Donald Trump could focus more on the Ukrainian crisis and the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But I think that having mediators like Gulf countries like Saudi Arabia or United Arab Emirates or Turkish side, Turkey also playing an important role in the region, and Turkey has its relationship with European Union and with Russian Federation and with the Ukrainian side. So I think that the role of Turkey is very important, and Turkey could be a very important mediator to find a solution for the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Mr. Ögürçü, my final question to you. Will be also nice to know your attitude to the situation, what is happening today in between of two countries, Azerbaijan and Russia, after Russian drone strike damaged a Sokar fuel station in Ukraine. And looking beyond today's visit of Pashinyan to Moscow, what will determine the future of the South Caucasus over the next months? Will it be Armenian stability to balance between Russia and the European Union, the progress of peace and normalization with Azerbaijan and Turkey, the opening of transport links, energy routes, or the wider competition between global powers?
I think we live in a different world now. Things have significantly changed. Security risk change, economic opportunities, trade risks. So we are moving towards a new world order in which uncertainty is the buzzword. And so both Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Russia recognize that. So we have to restructure our relations in such a way that we will not be representing any threat to our interest. And as I said before, the NATO summit coming up in Ankara, I hope will send some signals to Russia, and Turkey will make every effort that it's not going to be messages that will put Russia into a difficult position, because Russia is a strategic partner in many ways for Turkey, and we recognize Russia's important role in Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, and also the war in Ukraine should come to an end and to play a constructive role in this regard. Likewise, vis-a-vis Iran, US and Israel attacking, and state of Hormuz crisis, this all show us that we need countries like Turkey who can talk to all the capitals. There is no other NATO country which can talk simultaneously to Washington, Brussels, Moscow, Tehran, Beijing, and also Gulf nations. Therefore, I believe that what happened about Sokar station being bombed by Russia, this could be, in a wartime, accidental as well. I don't think it has been specifically targeted. This happened so many times to many Turkish ships as well in the Black Sea. And so we have to carefully assess what happened. And I think with Russia, I believe that both Baku and Yerevan work very carefully, maintaining their sovereignty, their nationally protecting it to the extent possible, have relations with the West and other partners, but don't forget in this geography, it's a very tough geography, and if you ignore Russia or anger, make it hostile power in the region, things will not work better. So Russia lost some of its power, yes, that's true. It's concentrating now on Ukraine, that's true, but it still has very strong military and diplomatic muscles to affect the course of events everywhere, including in the Caucasus. So in that regard, I think we have to understand this very carefully without sacrificing, of course, our vital strategic interests and sovereignty.
Well, dear experts, thank you so much for joining our program today. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, Armenia's first post-election outreach to Russia highlights that despite changing geopolitical dynamics, economic realities and regional security considerations continue to shape Yerevan's foreign policy choices. Whether this visit marks a genuine improvement in Russia-Armenia relations or simply a pragmatic effort to manage existing differences will become clearer in the weeks ahead. For the wider South Caucasus, the focus remains on stability, connectivity, and sustainable regional cooperation, issues that will continue to influence the strategic landscape well beyond today's headlines. Thank you for watching Inside Politics. I'm Anastasiya Lavrina, and I see you next time.